Hi, and welcome back to the skin tier list ranking thing. Hey fellas, it's ya boy, the Microbe Man, back for the final part of ranking old stuff. It's all new from here. I suppose I'll go over the usual quick. I am currently ranking every skin that came out before patch 4.6, and everything else will be ranked later. Keep in mind everything on screen now is what I'll be looking at most when ranking each skin, even if I don't specifically point them out in my quick reviews of each skin. And of course, these rankings are simply my own and Lizzie, my girlfriend's opinions, as she ranked them all with me, of course. We're just here to have some fun, as this is in no logical way objective. Feel free to flame me about my thoughts in the comments, but you know, keep it civil. Pretty sure that's about it. Let's resume with the ranking. Starting with... it's like Vivian, isn't it? Vivian. Full throttle. Well, what can you say? It's basically a recolor, so it really doesn't stray that far. Spiky Vivian, essentially. Try not to get yourself on that edge. Haha, Nisugi moment. Haha. Normally, these kind of like sunglasses at least look a little bit cool. This one just kind of looks funny. I feel like they could have made them normal or cool pretty easily, but nah, they had to look kind of pointy and strange. At least they're red. No hair streak, though. Wah. Her pants are just like even tighter than usual somehow. Tons of things are just a little more spiky, kind of a little more edgy looking, I suppose. Edgier shoulder pad, belt, cape, gun, and turrets even. Yeesh. Suffice it to say, pretty much everything is the same. The only real expansions are just the idea of how do we make this a little more try-hard edgy. Spikes, wee. I mean, all around it looks fine, I guess. And I suppose the theme wouldn't be that bad. It's just the execution of it is just very lackluster, considering it's mostly just a recolor. They really didn't do much with it. Hardly any expansion to like the gangster-ass looking theme that they're going for. As a result, I can't really say too much against it. It just doesn't look very interesting. It's never appealed to me. It doesn't do much with Vivian's initial design, and Vivian herself has, in my opinion, one of the weaker designs in the game, so C tier. Daywalker. I kind of like the line that this one walks of being vampire-ish, but also not totally vampire-ish. Take Corvus's, for example. He's very clearly vampire. This one's a little bit more subtle. Still pretty vampire-ish, obviously, but it's a little bit less overt. Anyway, those are some big-ass boots. Quality's pretty alright. Not too much detail to show it off, though. Most of the clothing is simple, but not too interesting. Still looks good regardless. Shoulder pad and cape are pretty cool, and the hair is real cute. Her face is also a little quote-unquote fixed versus the default. I've always had a slight problem with her default face. I don't know why. This one just looks better. I've always been a big fan of this gun. At the end of the day, default Vivian's main appeal is just that she has this gun that she never stops fucking shooting. So, surprise, surprise, that's gonna be the focal point of pretty much all of her skins. I figure they're always going to go all out on that front, and this is no exception. This is very nice. It's got a stake on it. It's got some like gears show, and it's shooting blood or something, which is metal as hell. Her turret's got little extra spikes. It's a good touch, but it does look a little bit silly, kind of similar to her last skin, but it does have some pretty cool effects now. I'm wondering about the story behind the skin. Is she supposed to be a vampire herself, or is she supposed to be hunting vampires, or perhaps both? Maybe she's got some kind of fascination with them, I don't know, which is why she's pimped out in the clothing that scream, I want to be a vampire. Like I said, maybe it's both, I don't know. Everything here just screams general good quality. There's nothing bad going on, a lot of good. All of Vivian's general concepts are just kind of upgraded into a better version of herself, and just slaps in a bunch of gothic looking vampire stuff, which all looks pretty sick. Then of course the gun is very nice. It all just looks quite lovely. S tier. Contessa. White and red. And we do indeed like white and red. The hair is black and gray-ish, which is cool. The gun looks like really, really, wow, cool. Nice. I wish they changed maybe the pants to like, I don't know, something other than white. Everything down there just kind of looks the same. But I don't know, this one's still probably better. Omega. One of the best Omegas. Stays somewhat human and somewhat Vivian while still looking very, you know, Omega. Quality and details are very good. Oh, she's still got the red hair streak. Nice. Omega skins normally have this case of standing out due to looking samey but well made. While this one is not samey, it's just as well made, if not more so. Every section looks different and detailed, very well thought out. Tons of little unique portions of it that make everything kind of stand out together. Nothing in particular stands out overall aside from the weapon, and the weapon is sick. It's techie and cool. I like it. Obviously, everything's still pretty generically techie, but it's done about as good as like the Genlock skins, which are some of the best techie skins in the game. Doesn't look bulky or anything like that. Very slick. All just lovely. Nothing more to say, really. And the turrets are actually turrets now. Wow. S. Sigma. Balls. Cool textures, let's go. This recolor came out a lot later, and it's one of the ones you could tell that it did, because the textures are just way better. It has some wacky texturing stuff alongside all the recoloring, and it is very blue, and some green as well. This one's better, no doubt. Pops like hell, looks all electric, except for the bottom, which looks kind of snowy. Wow, this one is better, for sure. Student of Magic. Well, I think the OG Vivian face is back, unfortunately. It's the only low-quality thing in the entire skin. I don't know why, but I really like the aesthetic of, like, generic shooty person turned into a generic magic-y shooting person. Just kind of seems like a stupid mix and match kind of thing, and it really works for some reason. In my head, anyway. But yes, she's got a big old floppy witchy hat. Generic, but classic. Gotta have it. Gotta love it. The colors are kind of all over the place, which I guess kind of makes sense for like a student, so it kind of works out. You know, a little bit chaotic. Doesn't really have a lot of balance yet. But as a result of that idea, it does kind of pop a little less, even if it's appropriate. That being said, the clothing looks all, you know, sleek, satisfying, and appropriate. Has the little Vivian half cape at the back, which is nice. Her hair, which is now blue, has like a little white patch where her streak would be. Pretty nice little detail. The weapon is one of the biggest reasons why I love the meshing of magic with this generic shooty person. I love the idea of just this big ass LMG just becoming this magic-y wiggly ass stick that somehow fucking kills people. That's just really funny to me. It's my favorite part about the skin, even though it's, you know, maybe not the best looking aesthetically, but it still looks pretty damn cool, but you know what I mean. The floating books are also a good idea for the turrets. It's a pretty fine skin. Doesn't really fit Vivian, I feel, but tons of fun details. Quality's pretty good. Doesn't really pop, but all around good skin. A tier. Novice. Okay, this one pops a little more. Hey. Colors are much more succinct, and we all love goth, you know, don't pretend you don't. Indeed, I would place this one above. Vora, Seal Guardian. Okay, so anniversary patch recently happened. Pretty dope patch. Totally fucked up the zoom on all these like character viewing areas. Not all of them, but a decent chunk of them, including a few characters we are going to be covering, have been messed with. So for me, who uses that shit almost exclusively for my videos, that fucking sucks. Basically, skins that aren't readily viewable in chests are not going to be very easily viewable, so darn it. Specifically, this Vora skin, Honor Guard, can't really be fully viewed. However, you can view its recolor just fine. I'm going to be showing off the recolor, but talking about the original here, so don't get that confused. I'm sorry it has to be this confusing. Thank Paladins and the anniversary patch for that. That's about it. Sorry about the intermission, and let's get back to the video. The concept, of course, is just simply younger Vora before Boom Bam Bop Village go kaplop or whatever, and then she go to the dark side or something. I don't know, get your lore somewhere else. I'm not here for that. In a sense, it's kind of a regressed version of Vora's default, but then again, at base, Vora's default is very detailed, and as a result, since this is of course younger Vora, a lot of these details here look pretty normalized as opposed to the default version, which is of course likely what they were going for. Looks good. I can see this being her default in like some other timeline. She got this cool little feather crown. Even though the default looks more full, this one's like, it's fun, it's fitting. There's a lot of feathers and like ribbons instead of like, you know, spikes and teeth. Her shoes are pretty unique too. I've always felt like her hair looks a little bit strange by itself without the big, you know, mask crest looking thing. I don't know, whatever the hell you'd call that. Without all that stuff, it just looks a little more, I don't know, empty, in my opinion at least. This skin's also got that nice little fin under her eye, which is like used in the gold skin and stuff. Pretty dope. I'm also a big fan of the weapon. The OG is still cooler, but this is a nice change for sure. Though a pretty big con of the weapon is that its effects used are just the normal red effects. Just carries over the defaults things. It's not really fitting. Kind of unfortunate, but it's not the worst thing in the world, I suppose. But yeah, super sleek weapon aside from that. Sucker for size right here, by the way. But yeah, whole skin's very middle of the road. I like it. Nothing bad. Decent amount good. Not super creative in any direction, but it does exactly what it needs to. B tier. Honor Guard, green. I'm a fan, a little calmer coloring for sure. Weapon isn't as shiny, which isn't as cool, but oh well. I'm gonna put this one above just because I personally like the green, but honestly both are pretty much the same. If you're a tiny bit colorblind, you're not even gonna tell the difference, honestly. Which I am. Galactic Conqueror. And with this skin, Vora was the very first character to be released with 2 skins. Not a fan of the bangs. Looks like a heart though. It's not the worst though. It's kind of just an extension of how I said without Vora's default headpiece, the hair just looks kind of boring to me, empty. So it's definitely not the worst thing in the world. But yeah, the rest is all kind of awesome. The interpolation of the outfit, what with the cosmic effects, the fishnets and the designs and the details, it's just lovely. Pretty shoes, pretty braids, pretty crown, cute little bows, and the scythe, gorgeous. Emperor's New Groove meme, sparkly and pretty, and oh baby. The fancy effects ascend to our gameplay, and it is all yes. Yeah, that's it. Well, and the whole magical girl theme is pretty interesting as a theme. Kind of specific, but pretty interesting. In my opinion, it extends kind of even further than the other like magical girl, Sailor Moon kind of skins. Pretty much all the others struggle with this kind of looking great, but not being too interesting. This one is interesting. Very much so. Not to say the others completely aren't. They're all lovely, honestly, but this one just goes above and beyond. S tier. Willo, our first actual skin that isn't a recolor, is Hemlock. Just kind of just looks like Maleficent. I'm gonna pretend it's just that. I'm not gonna look it up. Research is for bozos. But yeah, it looks sick. Half Willow, half cooler Willow, but also evil. Enhancements on Willow's mischievousness, especially in her voice pack, kind of more leans into, you know, hello, I murder now. Alongside all that cool concept stuff, some nice effects are slapped onto all these cool designs, like the wings and the crown horn thing. Really honestly not that different from her default, but the details set it apart anyway. Really nothing but upgrades from her default outfit. Overall just very sleek. Magic wand. Willow's already, you know, magic-y, so it's kind of perfect. I always wondered why her original was just like a flower, when it totally could have been just a magic wand, and here, you know, now is. Cool, I guess. Yeah, it looks great. Fun to use. If done appropriately, glowing eyes are always fun, and this is done appropriately. Themes are kind of hard to come by for Willow for sure, and this one's alongside its execution is pretty damn good. A tier. Firecracker. It's actually got a few more additional designs. It's got like lining on the wings and stuff, a few extra little things like that. Fancy, fancy. The color shift almost seems to make it lose kind of its evil purple design that it used to have. I mean, she is now the color of fire, which is appropriate enough considering she is all about burning the house down. Burn the house down! But yeah, the gold lining on everything looks lovely. It has stuff that Hemlock feels like it's missing now that this skin exists. Sugar Plum, one of the weirdest skins in the game. I'm gonna just say off the bat, like, you got a fairy character and now she's just like human fairy looking ass thing. I don't know about that one, Chief. What is this supposed to be? I guess it's supposed to be like a toy, since this technically was a Christmas skin. If I were to guess on some kind of theme, it looks like some kind of fairy Barbie looking ass thing. My informant, aka my girlfriend, has also informed me that the face kind of looks like a specific kind of toy. It has the word brat in it and a Z at the end. Zed. I'm Canadian, damn it. Basically, Willo is no longer Willow. She is a brat with a Z. Zed. Willo is a interesting little fairy character with a lot of cute little fairy aesthetics that they could have gone with. And well, okay, I guess fairies can be people, but Willow's an interesting fairy. This skin is boring fairy. I don't know, the wings look good and the quality is good. Details aren't too interesting, but they're pretty good. The overall concept plus all those things, like, the execution is good, but I don't know if there's anything they could have done in execution to make this skin not look weird. The face and the hair are just kind of gross, I'll say it. The wand is, well, wand number 2. It's not a bad idea again, but they already did it. Like, it could have been something else, and the wand design itself, it's got a funny fat part in it. I don't like it. As you can probably tell, I'm not a big fan of the whole thing, but I guess it's made pretty well. I think that the concept and kind of the design choices are kind of bad, but the execution is very good aside from that. And also keep in mind, I'm actually vouching for this skin way more than Lizzie. She really does not like this skin. It's technically good, I guess. It's just so off-putting. And hell, I'll say it's even kind of boring. I'm sorry if there's maybe something I'm missing the point with this skin. It's just so and everything that isn't is kind of pretty or just straight up kind of gross.
Forgot to mention its actual ranking. That is a C tier. Yes, sir.
And that is it for Willow. I honestly can't wait to go over her new skin, but yeah, we'll get to that when we get to it. Ying, the Chungy Wungy, the final obstacle to me finishing this damn previous 4.6 shit, you know? Oh, I can't wait to get her over with. Anyway, she has a lot of good skins to go over, so let's get into it. Snapdragon. This one is old. More satisfying Ying is how I feel about this skin. A decent chunk of the model is just kind of recolored, most notably the weapon, the entire head, the back thingy, and a portion of the main clothing. Mainly the skin's a bit more elegant, all clean, got some nice tights on her legs. That's about it. Not a crazy detailed skin, and the quality is about as good as the default, which obviously her default's pretty damn old. It looks good, nothing ambitious. Just Ying 2.0, or more like 1.5, or even 1.3. C tier. Quicksilver. Everything's shiny. Ooh, the weapon glass is broken for some reason. Cool. The silver is quick. That means this one is better. Genie. Well, similar to Kinessa's, like, what was it, star or something? This skin had a lot of headpieces that are now defunct. I'm pretty sure they do not exist anymore, which is unfortunate. I think there were a few of them that were a bit better than the one that's now currently plastered onto this skin. The two weapons that existed before are still here though, so I guess that's something. The Genie concept is pretty good, actually. It fits Ying just about as good as it could. She looks great as a little Genie, but the fact of the matter is, skin's old, Ying's old, quality is old, which is a nice way of saying the quality is not good. Details exist, enough to tell what she's trying to be. Nothing crazy. Blue skin. Wow. I don't know. I always like messing with skin color, like I've said before. Yeah, it's about it. Weapon's cool, but I don't know. It's just a fucking mirror. B tier. Replicant. This, for the time especially, was one of the coolest skins in the game. I think it was the first robot skin? Because of that, the quality does suffer, but it really doesn't hurt the skin a whole lot. This was a pretty high quality skin for the time. The whole exoskeleton is slick and nicely detailed, although certainly not overly so, like some of the newer robot skins, which I do kind of believe works to its favor a little bit. Her mask has a nice, like, I'm a robotic husk kind of vibe to it, which I imagine, especially with the voice pack, is exactly what they were going for. Specifically, I remember the hair / use of cords and stuff like that. It was really nice for the time. Still looks very nice. Even the weapon, although it's still just a mirror, it has a cool little effect and it's still fun to use. The thing on her butt also appears to be like a battery. Lovely adaptation from whatever it was before. Pretty great, timeless, and somewhat unique design-ish, with its oldness kind of being the only thing holding it back. This one has a pretty large amount of Ying's integrity still in there, and as one of the earliest really good skins, has a glorious place in the hearts of many old Paladins players, like myself and Lizzie. Anyway, S tier. Carnival. It is technically not a Valentine's Day skin, but it sure looks like one. And at some point it was put into the Valentine's chest, so someone agrees. I've also been informed that carnivals exist. I've never been to one. I didn't know. So yeah, the theme is actually pretty on the nose. I was about to complain, but no, it's good. But yeah, it seems to be like a cute little crossover of like a Valentine's Day theme, or at least a shit ton of hearts alongside carnival stuff and, well, Ying. The quality is a bit low again, despite being produced after Replicant, but it's pretty detailed and everything Ying is well adapted. Nothing super standout, it's just all pretty nice. The only annoyance is kind of the lack of design creativity, I guess, with the overplacement of hearts. The weapon is a heart. I guess it looks pretty regardless though. And of course the mask has little designs and I like it. I'm noticing quite a few Ying skins. It just kind of is nice and I don't really have much else to say about it. It's just pretty, nothing bad, like B tier skin kind of deal. Speaking of which,
B tier.
Death Speaker. Well, this one's different. The quality is suddenly up there. Detail too. Honestly, almost too much detail. Kind of hard to tell what's up at first glance. It's got some really cool effects in her weapon and just under her feet. Her skin, like her skin is all glowy and ghost-like alongside the effects. It's so jarring from like how you'd normally see Ying, so it's kind of confusing about how to compare the two, you know, Ying and this skin, but like it still has Ying's wispiness, I guess, but her elegance and kind of like demeanor is kind of not there. It's a pretty cool take on her, to say the least, even if you kind of like sacrifice a bit of her character, I suppose. That thing on her back is cool, I guess. Maybe it's a magic spooky jail for souls or something. Helmet. Cool, I think. Horn at the top is a bother, but it's cool. The armor can seem a little repetitive at times, but it's still a very cool take on Ying. I don't think it meshes too terribly. Kind of reminds me of the genie skin almost, but like an evil take on that. Anyway, plenty of details, a little bit of kind of visual noise there, but still very lovely. And the effects, of course. S tier. Banshee. The purple and green are a pretty interesting combination. It looks real cool. The helmet isn't there, obviously, which fits Ying more, but the skin less. Her face looks, you know, kind, like Ying. Meanwhile, she's covered in spikes and teeth, so her green skin and her hair look really cool and wispy. It's just a recolor of her default, if I remember correctly. Both of these skins have slightly different takes on the same thing, but I think this one is a little bit better. Street style. Well, this is the last street style skin. Thank God. It's been said to death by everybody, and like this theme itself, I've always found to be a bit weird, and the prevailing joke that I've made and everyone and their mom has made is that it just looks like a bunch of prostitutes, which at this point I don't even think is a good joke. But then there's this skin. What do you want me to say? I don't like normal people clothes. She's wearing normal people clothes. Jacket, jean skirt thing, fishnets, sports bra, cap, hoop earrings. At the very least, there's nothing bothersome about the skin itself, unlike a few of the other street style skins. It's not ugly at all. Nothing looks quote-unquote weird, and we'll even say something good about it. The effects under the feet and the boombox replacing those papers or whatever they were are both good adaptations from Ying's default to this skin. Wow, good job. But yeah, the rest is, say it with me,
Boring.
Oh, I guess one thing that's actually kind of bothersome is the weapon. No thank you, I'll just use her default. I don't find it interesting. I don't think it fits with Paladins. I don't think it fits with Ying. I think the concepts, execution, details are all boring. I still feel like with all these street style skins, there's no creativity whatsoever aside from just like the dancey stuff, kind of DJ-esque looking shit. It's kind of pumped into there, but at the same time, it still just looks like basic bitch shit. That's kind of my take on the entire street styles theme. I'm honestly happy to be over with them. I don't want to say the same things about this skin, but I just find myself saying the same damn thing. I do not like these skins, but at the very least, this is the best of the worst set of skins in the entire game.
Yes, it's just in my opinion.
I'm sorry, I'm just so tired of talking about the street style skins. I want to be over with them, which I am. C tier, Be Gone. Mermaid. The title doesn't lie one bit. It's a pretty cute skin. Doesn't really compare in detail and elegance to the Murno skin, but still has a lot of nice details. Kind of a nice generic mermaid design. And Ying really fits the vibe better than anyone. The weapon's a little lagoon looking thing. Cool. It matches, but isn't really too interesting. Could have been a pufferfish spitting like bleh. Torso design is a little more creative than the generic mermaid, but the rest fits the mold pretty succinctly. Her scrolls on the back or whatever the fuck that stuff is, it's all like mermaidified, but why does she have paper underwater? The theme totally fits Ying, and although a little bit uncreative, sure, it's well made, slick looking, and very cute. B tier. Siren. It's just red. The other had a bunch of like gradients in different colors, and this one's just red. That's all. Like, that's it. There's nothing to note. That's kind of a shame. Divine Daughter, the last Egyptian theme skin, or at least of that like pack of them, you know. The adaptations from Ying's OG to this skin are very nice to see. The clothing and hair are especially Ying-like despite being completely new and fresh. The colors are very pleasant, almost seems like a interpretation of like an idol, which is a cool inspiration if that's the case, I'm not sure. No detail in particular stands out, it just all stands out together. It's all lovely. Ying's weapon skins, I don't know, it's just a mirror, so it's kind of hard to make it interesting, but this one is very cool in idea, adaptation, and execution. Looks like a portal, but it's got all like glowy hieroglyphics and stuff. Oh, and I like those cheek arrows. I can imagine those scrolls and stuff are full of astrology or something. Means she's smart. It's gotta count for something, I'm sure. This whole skin is just so damn satisfying. Details and quality are hype. Ying fits in it pretty damn well. Lovely skin.
S tier.
High Priestess. Gold rimming on her hair. Woohoo! Just really cool colors. Plus she looks a little more goth, and as I've said, everyone's got a thing for goths. Don't pretend you don't. Don't you fucking pretend. Oh, and her top goes all the way down to her arms. I actually like that better. Her original non-recolored version didn't do that. Either the Egyptian skins are all really good, or I just like Egyptian theming more than I thought. Because all these skins in the Egyptian pack are fucking baller. I adore all of them. Some of the best skins for each respective character that got them. Anyway, this particular skin is a bit better than its counterpart. Full dive. Odd concept for sure, but looks very good. Like, how do you turn a VR console into a skin? I don't know. They did it though, so this is how, apparently. I'll be perfectly honest, I think the concept is kind of bad, since the skin would either have to be like really on the nose or too vague, with very little in between, I feel like. The skin is indeed on the nose, however, it was executed pretty much as well as it possibly could have been. It's really pleasant to look at. The quality is top notch. The details with the VR controllers on her wrists and in her weapon are also pretty cool. She also just like straight up has a fucking VR headset on. Almost forgot that. I think the whole design is relatively cookie cutter techie design. It's good, but nothing stands out. It's definitely one of those skins though, you look at it a lot and kind of go, but why though? Like, she has these flappy dress wings, why though? She has like controllers on her wrist, why though? That kind of thing. The effects are cool though. Every detail contributes to the overall cool, shiny, techie look. It goes about as well as you'd think when someone says turn a VR console into a skin. It's very good, but overt to say the least. Not exactly the most immersive. Reminds me of that Dragon Tyra, and the same one that I alluded that one to, the pirate Ruckus. Kind of a wacky comparison, but if you get it, you get it. A tier. Rezzed. She's all shiny. This one reminds me of like Cortana. Makes her seem like she's more of the idea of VR, I guess, rather than the person in a weird VR suit, you know what I mean? She's also got additional, you know, cool markings on her skin, which kind of fills a part I felt like was a bit naked in the original. Pretty cool addition slash recolorings. This one's better, I'd say. Also, a pretty big compromise had to be made. I'm pretty sure I did not like this one as much as Lizzie did. Whew. Ying, done. The fact that we're at Zhin now is not hitting me, but I assume it will at some point. Conqueror. Kind of like barbarian, soldier, warrior ass looking theme. If it's a reference to something, I'm sorry, I got no fucking clue. Executed pretty neatly nonetheless, albeit a little generically, but generically good. Quality is its biggest drawback though, but the intention is solid. Everything looks good aside from the quality. Armor and body paint, although a no-brainer for the theme, look solid and I like them. The sword is really cool too, all chipped and broken at the end. Nicely detailed and tells a bit of a story. Nice little design in there too. This one's really kind of not much to say. It's pretty generic, all things considered, but again, I want to give the skin a lot of credit. I don't really know why. I've always liked the skin. Just very satisfying. I like the helmet and stuff, and just kind of the genericism of it. I don't know, it's always stood out to me just a little bit, even though I feel like to normal people maybe it's a bit forgettable even. Anyway, B tier. Ebon Star. I'll be real, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I don't care.
Hey, good society.
The inspiration is not exactly subtle, especially for the time. You know, that new Star Wars movie came out, quote unquote new, the beginning of the most hated trilogy in existence. But I mean, at the time it was pretty damn hype, so I'm not gonna hold it back for that. But yes, like I said, not subtle at all. In any case, it's pretty similar to Torvald's Star Wars looking skin. The cloak is a little undetailed and thick, a bit bulky for sure. Pretty old skin, so yeah, fair. The mask and glowy bits are cool to shove into an otherwise bland cloak. The sword is really cool. You're not fooling anyone. I know you're trying to be a damn lightsaber, but it looks really cool. Honestly, I feel like it could go on like the Genlock Kazu skin, even with the detail gap, and it would still look pretty damn good. Anyway, that's all I really have to say about this skin. It's not underwhelming, but there's just not a whole lot there. There's only so much I can say about a bit of cloak and a mask. It does fit Zhin pretty damn well though, and it is relatively satisfying, and I like the weapon a lot, so yeah, B tier. Demon Slayer. Again, with all the faces kind of standing in for actual cool details. Unfortunate. His actual face, though, and his quote-unquote naked body all look really kind of clay-y. It really doesn't hold up these days. The hair is, his hair is certainly, like, I know it's meant to be a bit much, but, like, that doesn't change the fact that it's a bit much. It's anime as hell, but it just looks wacky, especially for how damn serious he is. The details in the clothing are fine. I feel like I've seen it kind of all before. It feels like a culmination of a bunch of other generic pieces in other skins into, you know, this one boring kind of package. It overall looks like fine, but the overall standout parts, aka his hair and his face, are a bit too much and in my opinion don't look that good. His sword is cool though. They bothered to change the fire effects too. It's still got a face instead of something cool though. If that was the only face, it'd be fine, but geez. Oh, he's got cool claws on one of his hands. I like that. Whole skin's like kind of crazy. I don't know how to fully exemplify that. The theme feels wacky, but the execution was generic. It doesn't look bad, but it also just doesn't really feel like a whole lot. Then there's a few negative things that I mentioned. Some bad, some good. You know how it goes. C tier. Omega. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, we're at the end of the list. I pretty much have the exact same opinion of this skin that I do for pretty much all the other Omega skins in like A tier. Looks good in a generic robot sense, has a standout feature or two, quite well executed, but it's basically the same as the others. The standout portion for this one I think is the helmet. I think it's pretty cool. I think the plume reused the Demon Slayer animation, so efficiency. At least in this version of it, it definitely looks a lot better. The sword is also quite cool. Nothing really to say about it, just looks techy and cool. The only downside I see is that the shoulder pads bump out a bit too much, a little bulky, but really isn't that bad. Aside from all of that, I've said really everything I can say at this point about the Omega skins. This one goes with a few of its brothers in A tier. Underkeeper. Part of the arcane theme skins, in other words, a vague idea that I don't understand. It weirdly looks like a mash together of like Link and Gandalf, especially with the recolor. His clothing is just like a bunch of layers of cloth. That's kind of it. The ribbons though have these nice little markings and like runes that glow, which are kind of nice. But yeah, it definitely seems like some like dark elf inspiration, I guess. It's got like this bronze looking crown thing. The hell's wrong with that hair tie though? The glove and the sword are like the only things that make my brain go, ooh, that's cool, straight off the bat. Not that the rest of it's boring, it's just not super interesting to me. The sword looks a bit chunky, but it's like a big chunk of rock or bone or something, so I don't know, it's pretty cool. Cool effects, maybe a bit much, but cool. And that orb thingy is a hit too. I'm curious if this is an opinion that people share with me, but I'll be perfectly honest here, this might just be the most forgettable skin in the entire game. I know I said that about one other skin, but this one in particular, every time I see it, I'm surprised it exists, just because it escapes my brain so damn fast. Even below like the mega skins and all that stuff, this is just, for some reason, I never remember this skin is real. When I see it, I just go, oh yeah, I forgot. Anyway, back on topic, B tier. Forest Stalker. Some of the runes are gone, kind of unfortunate, but this skin does kind of work a lot better, I feel like, with the whole skin deal. He's like a forest elf boy now, so all that wooden stuff kind of makes sense. In my opinion, this skin feels more like the default in a weird way, even though I know this was the recolor. Like this one more feels like the base that's grounded in some actual theme. Meanwhile, the default feels like an offshoot in another direction to try to make it evil, you know what I mean? That's just my opinion. I do really commend this one for making it look so different and even making me think that this one should be the default. It means that they did a pretty damn good job. Anyway, it's got a wooden crown, wooden sword, goopy neon green nature looking magic stuff. Ooh. I actually like the face and stuff better than the default. Looks a little less dramatic and more like, bruh, I'm gonna protect the forest. I guess it matches with Zhin's kind of like line of duty ideal. Leader of people and will use force and shit, that kind of deal. Anyway, I've talked enough about a recolor. This one's better. We got one more for Zhin. Kazu, the Gen Lock. This one, in my opinion at least, is not one of the cooler ones, unfortunately. I've explained the whole Gen Lock deal because, you know, this is a crossover skin, so ranking the skin's a bit different. But, you know, I'm at the end of the list. I'm tired. If you want to know more details on that, watch part 3 or the last part. I had like a summary of how I'm ranking these in one of those. I'm gonna be lazy. Let me be lazy, alright? Alright. Even though I know the developers here didn't design Kazu himself, I'm gonna critique it a little bit anyway. Below the waist, it looks all like military stuff, and then above the waist, it looks like street punk shit. It does look a little bit jarring, I'm not gonna lie. And then his shoulder and arm look all techie and cool. It's kind of a mess. I bet he spills his ravioli. Also, his face looks more like a punk, and I hate him. Then again, it actually does kind of fit in because of that, now that I think about it. The sword itself looks really cool, like a giant cleaver, like Belladonna looking shit, which incidentally is also in this game. But yes, to be perfectly honest, this skin kind of feels like a mess design-wise. I know I shouldn't be critiquing the design because they didn't design it, it's a different character from a different universe, but like a lot of other skins in the Genlock universe kind of forced a really heavily detailed and high quality standard, and this skin just doesn't really follow that standard in my opinion. It looks kind of cool, like there's a lot of different parts of it that look pretty interesting, but it all fits together in a weird conglomerative mess. It like kind of fits together, but like when I really start breaking it down, I'm like, what am I looking at? Anyway, that's just our opinion on it. I'm gonna say it is B tier. And just like that, we're finally at Zigs.
Zigs, let's go.
Oh, you think we're done? You think we're... What are you fucking stupid? Zigs. Crow boy. His eyes are glowing. Good. I like his feathers. This is a harder bit to rank than I thought it would be. His beak looks as though he would happily feast on your entrails. Very cool. A very cool little guy in general. He's got a nice grip on there. Good job. S tier. Chubby boy. I don't know, he just kind of looks not as cool. Colors look a little dulled, but he's still alright. It doesn't look nearly as cool. He's just a little guy. He is what he is. B tier. Chubby boy too. Sick chubby boy. Are you okay? Even his feet and his beak are green. Someone called the infirmary. This one's worse, I guess. Robot boy. He cannot close his wings, therefore he is always in a state of hap. He celebrate. Nice, innovative skin, I guess. He still perches on that arm despite having no feet. Magnets. It's the most unique, I guess. I originally unironically thought it would be a bit more like Cassie's like OG bird, you know, back in the day. It's not, so I guess that's a little disappointing. A tier. Buff dragon boy. He's awesome. Okay, so I guess the model is based on that horse that was adapted into a dragon mount, and now it's here. Wow, cool. Okay, alright. Development history. He's got effects. Why does he have effects? He's magic. I think I'll call him Jim. Good boy. S tier. Boy. I'm aware that I haven't even covered the entire skin yet. It's the end of the stupid bit. I just want to complain for a second, alright? Alright, thanks.
Legitimately the worst thing I've ever seen in this entire game. Nothing about it is dynamic. It's malformed to something not even remotely resembling Zigs. Meanwhile, it's just kind of keyed onto where the bird's head would be, making its movements look unnatural and eerie. It also just feels really lazy. I waited 4 years for a copy-pasted model of something that isn't even original. Makes a normal character look goofy, makes all our taunts look goofy. I have my issues with the whole skin itself, but this thing is the reason why I don't use it. This is where I draw the line. Absolute worst bottom of the barrel, unnerving, and laziest excuse for a friend. I hate it, Ted hates it, Lego Shark hates it, Grandma Falco hates it, this llama thing I have that my brother gave to me from Mexico or something hates it. Truly evil. The beast is demonic in nature. F tier. Okay, we're done. Well, okay, a while back we did kind of skip 2 skins that I felt were just so boring and inconsequential we didn't even need to cover them. We literally just went, those are pretty much recolors anyway, who cares? But it has kind of haunted me for a while since then. If I really want to rank every single skin, I gotta include Strix's Raven and Cold Snap. It'll just be really quick, okay? Really quick. It'll be a breeze, like it never happened. Anyway, the guns are pretty cool and the mask is pretty cool. They fit with each other's respective skin. Everything else is recolored. Even most of the weapons with both skins are recolored. So, awesome, I guess. There's a reason we didn't feel like covering them at the time. There's barely anything to talk about. They're cool changes of pace for sure, but ultimately hardly that memorable. The Raven one is a bit better since I like the edgy, spooky look with all the bones and all. The Cold Snap one looks similarly eerie, but in my opinion it looks a little less set on a theme, I guess, if I were to nitpick. Poetic, I guess. They're not recolors, but I mean they're both only a tiny bit different than default Strix, so I don't know. Fuck it. Who cares? C tier. Leading with Raven, and ending off the entire ranking with Cold Snap. Good God. Alright, so now that we're all done with all the ranking for the last episode, before we get to the new stuff here, I wanted to take a kind of casual gander at the tier list here. Mainly, I wanted to go through some random stats. Before that, though, I did want to kind of talk about the tier list as a whole. It's really easy to kind of look at B tier and just kind of think of that as the absolute middle, I suppose. I explained it, I think, pretty decently in these little descriptions here. But honestly, Paladins just has some really terrific skins all over the place, like all across the board. I frequently use every skin from C tier all the way up to SS. B tier is like safe skins exemplify B tier, ones that don't go too far in any specific direction and just kind of hit this beautiful middle point of not going too far from the character, not having too great quality, too great details, or too great of a theme, just having a great middle ground of everything. Although there are a few exceptions, that's mostly what you're going to find here. C tier is pretty much the same deal, maybe even they're a little bit better than what I said. However, there's like 1 or 2 specific big things that really drag the skin down. Either that or like the recolors. This is kind of the recolor graveyard. But yeah, C tier is pretty half decent. There's just like 1 or 2 things that are really not so grand, you know. A tier is kind of where they just cast off all the safeness from like B tier. Essentially, A tier exemplifies when they start actually taking risks. Obviously just a step up from B, but as you take the risk to make things a little more interesting, there's occasionally some drawbacks to that. That's kind of where A tier is. Some really good stuff, but a little bit of drawbacks due to the fact that they're taking a bit more risks. S tier is essentially the exact same thing, but minus the drawbacks. It's just every kind of innovation was pretty damn successful, and if there is any bad stuff, it's so minor, it doesn't take anything away from it really. Or if it did, it's just really not even worth mentioning. In fact, I think there's a point somewhere I just kind of stop having bad things to say about any skin. Like either here or here. Yeah, pretty much everything above this ROM skin. It's just a super nitpick on the ROM skin, but everything above it, there's just actually nothing bad to say about those skins. Nothing that I value anyway. What pushes things up to S tier is like where all those things that, again, like I said, I adore about skins, the quality of the details, how much it represents the original character, and the theme itself. If those are kind of just all perfect, in my opinion, they go up to S tier. Another way I like looking at it is if those skins were replaced with their character's respective default skin, I wouldn't even bat an eye. That's how much it kind of reflects their original character, either in an abstract or straight up sense. Also, everything else about those skins are perfect as well. Toss a pretty hefty amount of bias in there. I mean, look at this shit. And there you go, that's SS tier. Hopping actually back down to D tier, I don't want to sit here and say that all these skins are bad. In fact, they're really not. But in my opinion, they just kind of feel a little bit half-baked. If they're developed a little bit more, I would have been totally fine with that, but either there's just like big things that I don't care about or I don't like straight up, but I can kind of see what they're going for, right? Unless it's the beach skins, in which case they're just kind of memes anyway. But at least like there's nothing specifically wrong with them. I would still like use them and not feel sick. F tier, I hate these guys. I would never use these skins even if I had them. It's some of the rare Paladin skins that I have zero defense for. I can't think of any excuses for. They're just bad skins and they shouldn't exist in my opinion. What the heck are you doing out here? So yeah, let's take a look at those random stats, shall we? Essentially, I applied a scoring system to every single skin, obviously giving a higher score to skins in the higher tiers and a lower score to skins in the lower tiers, obviously based on the tier list you see in front of you. It was very tedious to do and I probably didn't do it entirely correctly, but at least it'll give a relatively accurate accurate rough estimate for these wacky stats that I'm going to go over. The first set of stats I want to look at is the highest quality tier averages, aka the champions who have the overall highest quality of skins, if this list were like a baseline. At the very top in SS tier is technically Vatu. He only has one skin though, and that skin we put in SS tier, so it really doesn't count. Like obviously that means he's going to be up here, but that's second boring, so I'm going to disqualify any character that has only one skin, aka Vatu, Octavia, and Atlas. RIP. Anyway, the character with the actual highest quality skins is Rom, with 2 skins in S tier and 1 skin in SS. Like, he is well ahead of everyone else, and it's not even close. Atlas would technically be next down in A tier. He's only got 1 skin though, so like I said, get him the fuck out of here. Number 2 would actually be Furia, with a wacky amount of skins in A tier, 4 to be exact. And of course we got 1 more in S tier, somewhere in here. Oh yeah, at the very top. Man, I really like Sword Wings, huh? Anyway, next is Vora, with 1 skin in B tier, here it is, and 1 skin in S tier, at the very top. Cassie has the next highest quality skins, with 1 skin in A tier, 1 skin in a recolor in B tier here, 1 skin in A somewhere, 1 skin in S, and 1 skin in, well, SS. Vivian is 5th for the highest quality skins, but she's kind of like, as compared to the other 4, she drops off a lot, or rather she starts the downward trend, to where her and everyone else below her just kind of becomes kind of centralized. All the other 4 characters were crazy high above. But yeah, C tier, got 1 there. A tier, somewhere in here. Editing me will highlight it, I'm sure. And lastly, she's got 2 skins in S. So yeah, now onto the characters with the lowest quality. Alright, the very lowest is, Captain Falcon? Pip. I meant Pip. Don't worry about it. This isn't here. Don't worry about it. Pip is kind of all over the place, but generally has a pretty low margin. His average isn't actually as low as I thought the lowest would be. His lowest being in D tier down here, as well as 3 skins in C tier. Yes, these 2 are the same. They are recolors. 1 skin in B tier. Here it is. And finally, Pepper in S tier. Yes, a little controversial, I suppose. Next up would be Octavia. She has 1 skin in C tier, but like I said, she only has 1 skin, so we're gonna skip her. She doesn't count. So the real one next would be Koga, having a skin in D tier, a skin in C tier, a skin in B tier, and a skin in A, which is very averagely low. Nothing really too special to say. Next is Bomb King, who is actually something pretty special to say. He has 2 in F tier. He's the king of F tier, truly. He also has 2 in S tier, strangely enough. And then he has 3 more skins, 1 in D tier, 1 in C tier, and 1 in A tier. Somewhere. Lastly, I'm going to talk about Grok, who has a skin in C tier and 3 skins in B tier. So yeah, those are the 5 or so lowest quality skinned characters. I don't know exactly you'd call that, but you get what I mean. You know, I'm actually going to make a quick tier list that more accurately shows off where every character's skins would be on average. Alright, here we are with the list, not including the ones that I haven't ranked any skins for, obviously. But yeah, this is it. I kind of like to think of it this way for fun. If every character had just 1 single skin, and that single skin represented the absolute average of all the skins that they already have, this is where that 1 skin will be placed for each character, with Rom at the top, and poor little Pip down at the bottom. Pip mains are not eaten well, and they never really have been, I'm sorry. But yeah, pretty interesting. Okay, back to the actual tier list here. We have a few more stats to go over. Next is the most average tier average. Weird way to type it, but oh well. Basically, this is the character whose average skin quality would be exactly in the middle of every single character, and that character is Terminus of all characters. He has 1 skin in C tier, 1 skin in B tier, and 2 skins in A tier, making his average just kind of around the top of B tier here, so that kind of checks out. Shaolin is also extremely close, with 1 skin in C tier, or rather 3 recolors in C tier, and then 2 more skins in A tier. Both have like the absolute middle averages of the entire list. I guess in that last tier list that I just showed beforehand, they would be right in the middle, right? Next stat we have is the Sightseer bonus, aka the most diverse. What I mean by that is these are the characters that just have skins fucking everywhere, in every single tier pretty much. Now strangely enough, there actually isn't a character that we figured had a skin like everywhere, all the way from F tier to SS tier. There wasn't a character with a skin in every single tier, but the closest we got is again Bomb King. He has 2 skins in FF, for God's sake, then has 1 in every single tier, 2 in S actually. The only ones he doesn't have any skins in is B tier, the average tier, and then SS tier. He has skins everywhere else, in abundance even. Plus, I mean, he's the king of F tier. We gotta give him something. Next, I guess, would be Maeve. She has 2 skins in C tier, 2 skins in B tier, 1 skin in A tier, 2 skins in S tier, and 1 skin in SS tier. Skins out the wazoo and all over the wazoo. Sky is in the exact same position, aside from having 1 less skin in S. She has a skin in SS, a skin in S, a skin in A, 2 skins in B, and 2 skins in C. Those are the most interesting ones that aren't just like, oh hey, I'm a character with a lot of skins that just so happens to be in all tiers because I have a ton of skins, except for F and S+. Lastly, we have the characters with the least diverse skins, aka the most boring ass averages. This is for the characters with the most skins like centralized into a single tier. On top of that would definitely be Furia with 4 skins in A tier, Jesus, and 1 less skin in S tier, the absolute queen of A tier. Next we have Zhin, the tyrant of B tier, with 4 skins in B tier, 1 in C tier, and 1 in A. Beneath Zhin's rule we have Grok with 3 skins in B tier and 1 in C tier, and lastly we have Strix, again with 3 skins in B tier, 1 in C tier, and 1 in A tier. And as a final general statement, the most average skin in the entire game, not character mind you, but skin itself, is Ying's Genie skin. Right here. It is the very middle of everything. Wait, that's not it. What the it's this one. Which is kind of cool. I've always considered the Sun-Kissed Cassie and like Exalted Androxus to be the quintessential middle ground, I guess. It really helped with ranking skins to find an anchor, and those 2 skins were generally the ones I used as the anchor for the very middle of the list, and I'm glad to see that the actual middle of the road is right in between them there. Kind of cool. It means my judgment on my own judgments is somewhat accurate. I guess that's good. Alright, as the actual final stat I'll share here, the total amount of skins currently ranked here are a staggering 229, not including recolors. Including recolors, that amount would be 301. Yikes. And I'm not done. Anyway, that's pretty much everything. I think I'll roll the tier list up one more time, all cinematic-like while I'm talking here. I am, of course, going to continue this list as an attempt to catch up with whatever patch it is currently. Though keep in mind, ever since the very first video, I already ranked every single skin up to patch 4.6, since that was the latest patch that was out at the time. So as a result, a lot of the newest skins that came after that, we haven't even ranked yet. So we do actually need to rank those first. It's definitely going to take a bit longer to make those videos than usual. But in the meantime, I do have a few other video ideas that I'll intersperse with my ranking videos and such. Lastly, I do want to make one huge video of just all the rankings so far. That way I can kind of keep the whole ranking thing in one place, kind of remaster the older parts too. And I was curious if folks think, should I do it now or should I wait a bit later for some other arbitrary time down the road here? I'll do it at some point regardless, just because it sounds fun, but I was curious if any commenters down there want to tell me what they think. Anyway, let's get the usual outro now. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you dearly. Feel free to subscribe if you want to keep up with my irregular content and the future ranking parts, plus whatever other Paladins content I have going on down the road. Again, thank you for watching. Have a lovely day, afternoon, evening, or morning, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Also, look at this heckin' zombie Switch cartridge holder that my girlfriend got me for my birthday. ST